Welcome to the Moment of Clarity podcast. I'm Nate.
I'm Jared.
I'm Jacob. Tune in as we break down the topics of life.
Yeah, today we want to talk to you guys about the stimulus package. And, it's like $600 after 5-6 months after the first one. And, if you're really struggling, your job doesn't allow you to telework from home, what can you do with the $600? And why are the people who are making like $150,000 in the Senate and Congress not willing to give you $600 when your tax dollars pay for them and they've been taken from your Social Security for, the last 20 or 30 years, acting like they're going to pay it back and never did. So if anything, they owe you the money that they're giving you for a stimulus check, and still they're trying to be tight with it. I don't really understand that. What you guys think about the stimulus check?
What are the requirements to get one of those?
I think apparently it's something like you need to make under 90,000, or anything over 100,000. It starts to go down, and then I guess if you get to like 110, then you get nothing.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
based on your 2019 income.
I mean, Nate, what you got to say here?
Like I've been listening to the baby today. He just like, I don't really like get involved in politics too much, and I was just like, I see what he's talking about. It's like we're, very close to the Capitol. We're close to what's going on in terms of the government and everything. And it's like the same stuff happens over and over and over again. And with this stimulus, this is the first time like I've experienced like a stimulus like this. Or is it? Look, I just remember when Barack went ahead and hooked me up with $8,000 on my house. So when you talk about like a $600 stimulus, I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay.
Let's go buy gum. That's what you're saying.
Like, what state in the United States can you live for a month on $600? Better yet, like 6 months.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think, at this point, like it's more than money. Like, it's just more than money that's needed, man. That's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound, But at the same time, I mean, it's like, I'll gladly accept it. I just think that like what we should do is like take the money, and if we don't like immediately need it, we should just like give it to some worthy cause, like give all of it to HBCUs or something, just like do something, that's like beneficial with it. You know how it is when like, you ever been to like a strip club or something and like somebody make it rain and then like.
I have not.
No. I don't be in strip clubs either.
Now, here's the thing. I had a friend tell me one time he went to a strip club in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And he said this dude was like making it rain. And he said like some of the money like fell on him. And he just felt like nasty. He was just like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's almost like how the stimulus check is. It's just like, dude, like Trump, man, come on, bro. Like,
yeah.
I just be thinking about the people who like really need it. Not like the people who are like working a job and it's like, oh, it's nice to have this extra $600. But what about the person, got multiple kids, trying to work 3 jobs, and 2 of them they can't go to anymore, and they ain't getting no government help. And it's like, well, what is $600 going to do for them? Like, I mean, it's great, you're giving something, but it's like, other countries have been giving thousands of dollars, a lot more money. And it's just like, why wouldn't you take care, the citizens who are voting for you, and, that you're taking their Social Security taking Social Security out of their check and then taking it away from the fund anyway for all these different bills and whatever. I just feel like in times like this, if they would have stepped up more for the people, then people would more believe in the government than they are right now. It seems like nobody really believes in the government anymore. It's just like one side or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I mean, I think, the trust definitely isn't there, with Trump, because like when COVID and everything first came out, he wasn't really on board with all the safety regulations and stuff that had been recommended. Um, and so it's like then you got now, he's giving $600. It's like, all right, dude, like which one is it? You know, uh, some people might even feel like it's his fault, you know.
What would you suggest people do with that stimulus money? Should they hold it? Should they, go ahead and pay a bill? Or what would you suggest if you're struggling and you got the stimulus check?
But like, here's the thing, man. It's a lot of people lost their jobs. I was talking to somebody in the realtor field a few days ago, and yeah, it's like people are like still losing their jobs, and it's even like affected the housing market. So there are people that genuinely can use that $600. Uh, you know, but like as for people who maybe don't necessarily need it that much, I mean, I think it'd just be a good time to like take care of some financial items that we haven't necessarily done. Maybe like up the 401k. Um, just doing something like beneficial.
What about you, Jacob?
I mean, honestly, I really don't care for the stimulus check. I mean, I wish I would get one because that helped me out. I'm in college, and but it really is what it is. I've been hearing that on Instagram, some influencers saying that we could have got more. Like it was it was some type of like decision for like $2,000 before the 600,
Mm.
and that I don't know I guess that just got fumbled by the Senate or something like that. Um, I just really like question like how how is the government so selfish? Like y'all got enough money, bro, like to help everybody in this job, and yet y'all don't. And like why? That's
Like
weird.
if you had the stimulus, would you like if you got that check being a college student, like what would you spend it on? What would you do with it? Would you spend it? Would you just save it, invest it?
I mean, I really don't got them. I really don't have nothing to spend it on. For real. Stuff, groceries, stuff like that. I probably save majority of it. Find some type of way to invest it, or a little portion of it.
That's what I was thinking, investing in it for real.
Yeah, whole 600.
Right.
Whole 600.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all got it like that.
I would say the thing is like that $600 to go so fast. If you can survive without that $600, not meaning if you can't survive without using that $600, then of course you got to use it. But if you can survive without using that $600, and you can invest in something like Tesla that went up a lot in the last like couple of weeks, so you can invest in your business, or let's say you're trying to start your music business, you can buy that keyboard. Let's say you're trying to start your podcasting business, you can buy, a camcorder and some nice lighting and whatever. There's a lot of things you can do that'll get you money long term. And there's some things, you can hold off on for now. Some of these bills that you're paying, it's like if you're like $2,000 or $3,000 behind, $600 isn't gonna help you. It's not gonna keep your electricity on if you owe $4,000 and they're cutting it off. But I mean, you can't invest in something that will get you through the next struggle, I think. So that's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
At this point in my life.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see like what the stock like back in the like years ago, like Amazon was like what, like $30. I'm trying to see what that stock is now. Like, what's gonna be the next Amazon?
You know, the funny thing is, when you invest in stock, sometimes trying to hit on the big stock is like trying to hit on the lottery. And sometimes it's just like, put your money in anything that you hear about that makes sense, that you can you understand that'll stay and maintain. So it's like, Netflix is going to be around, Disney is going to be around. So it's like, even if they're at $100 right now, say you didn't catch Amazon at $30, but you caught it at $300. Right now, you'd still be filthy rich because it's $1,800 a share or 18.
Yeah.
I don't remember. So it's just like, you don't have to catch it at the beginning. You just don't want to catch it when it's already out of there like it is now.
Yeah, I threw some money into American Airlines and AMC because I know once the world back open, that's gonna go crazy. They got to.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's smart, man.
Mm-hmm. I'm about to invest in popcorn and raisinets. Coca-Cola.
Popcorn.
Get something to eat.
Oh wow, that's smart.
I'm gonna invest in Starbucks. Well, always Starbucks, but Starbursts.
Starburst.
Yeah.
Oh, all the movies food.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's smart.
Man.
That's smart.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Coca-Cola would probably hit the roof after the joint opened.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Yep. Yeah, that's actually a good idea to invest in airlines. Yeah, 'cause that's gonna go crazy, man.
And hotels.
Hotels, yeah.
They got stock.
Yep.
Wyndham, Hyatt. They all got them, man.
Share.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you even get a share in a hotel?
You just, I be using Stockpile, man. That's what got me on it a lot more because it's like, the traditional method, they take a lot more fees, but Stockpile is really a lot better. They take the fees out of like the monthly fees, but they just take it out of your transactions or whatever, which is cool with me.
Talking about like a share at Wyndham.
It's like WYN or something like that.
How do you get a timeshare? That's what I was.
Huh?
How do you get a
timeshare?
That's what I was.
Oh, you just go on vacation and then those people like handing out like a free trips to like amusement parks. They'll get you a timeshare.
Oh wow.
But
No timeshare.
buying a timeshare is like the worst investment ever. It went out in the 90s.
Bro.
Yeah, you gonna be hearing new commercials, man, like on the radio.
Oh yeah, I have heard some people like they'll get you out your timeshare.
Yeah.
Like that bad. Like, are you paying for something you're never living in? Is that what that is?
Basically, and then they tell you when to take vacations and stuff.
Wow.
And then people default on them all the time. So it's not really good unless you got that ridiculous money. And then if you did have ridiculous money, you probably just buy the place anyway.
Yeah.
So I think everybody figured that out, and then timeshares died out really quickly.
Yeah, I remember one time I got a free trip, and ended up trying to sell me a timeshare while I was on the trip. So and dude, they were trying to get me for like hours. It was hours, man. But I was like, well, it's worth it. I'll just keep on saying no. Got my free trip, man.
He was like, no.
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm not interested.
Were you listening? You were listening to him at first and agreeing, and then no.
Nope. I just had my poker face on. And then it came time to answer the question. I was just like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good.
No.
Nah, I'm good. Thank you.
Even,
Nah, I'm not
even when you
interested.
ain't saying no, you just keep shaking your head like.
Nope.
After a while, you'll be like, oh, okay, I don't got time for this anymore. Let me get my manager. That's what they do. Let me get my manager, and then they'll take another 30 minutes.
Yep.
And you stay there for like 4 hours just for one trip. You like you like questioning yourself by then.
Yeah.
How much commission you get for selling a timeshare?
I'm sure it's a lot.
Wow,
That's the question.
that's probably why they out there.
Yeah.
It's probably somebody who's still like selling timeshares because they're like the ultimate salesperson. Yeah.
I've seen them at the harbor before.
Yeah.
What, like timeshare people?
Yeah, they be down there by the water where you go to the boardwalk. Yeah.
Somebody's still making it happen.
Yeah, man.
Those is like the original scammers.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And start somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Nah, that ain't the life for me, man. I guess like if there was one thing that I would like to do that's like considered to be, like rich, like timeshares used to kind of be like, it would maybe be like a boat, like have a boat and then like dock it somewhere.
a yacht.
Maybe a yacht, maybe. But those like some of those yachts be like millions of dollars, man. I don't know about all that, but you have to have just like a nice boat, man. That's all. That's all I want.
A nice boat. Hey man, you never know. Get that stimulus check, $600. The next thing you know, you on a boat, man.
Right, for 2 hours.
Yeah. But moving on from the stimulus check, what y'all think about the events that happened at Congress yesterday?
It's terrible, but it's hilarious at the same time. Wow. People was really up in there chilling.
It was like a mockery.
Like, for real. They were just letting them know, like, we can get in here. And you won't do anything about it.
Yeah, man. I'm just over here trying to get in my zen. I mean, I'm just trying to get in my zen. I think it's really interesting because, the protests were known beforehand. It wasn't a surprise protest. And from the looks of it, there was no preparation for it really.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a pass to run amok,
Real. Wow.
Yeah. I got some alerts, like with the agency I work for. And, I heard about the reports of, somebody being shot and everything. And I mean, it's just so unfortunate for real, for like deaths to happen as a result of this, man. So it's like, very impactful, And I read about, tear gas being deployed inside the building. I just thought, of like the last time I had been in the Capitol, and how enjoyable of an experience it was. And then to just imagine it with tear gas because, it's like some raiders in there. That's just crazy.
Man, that sucks, man. It really makes leaders look bad. Like leaders look bad, and it really makes our protectors look bad for how they handled that situation yesterday. Because we know if it was a couple of us, and well, it was a couple of us. Now that I think about it, but if it was straight us in that joint probably would have went a little differently.
I blame it on the police, man. Like, I feel like if you see them outside of a Black Lives Matter rally, they all gassed up, you know, at the beginning. You know, they all suited and booted and ready to move people out and act. And it's just like, they ain't really take these people serious. And then because they ain't take them serious, now we just made ourselves look crazy like fools to the rest of the world because we can't even control like an extremist group of like a couple thousand people. You know what I'm saying? That was just probably acting, just wanted attention. Because I don't, how many of them people I don't even think believe in what they was doing there. They just wanted to be a part of the crowd. And then
Yeah.
because they want to be a part of the crowd, they're breaking in, and it's like the police wasn't really trying to stop them. They had a right backup. It's like the police chief couldn't have been listening to his threat analyst. I mean, whoever that is, you know, because I know like there's been a lot of threat on lines. They knew they was coming, and all they did was come in with like part staff, like it's still a holiday. And then you had to get. The funny thing is, it was Marion Barry who stopped them from like staying in there, and she called in the guard and the state police, and that's when everybody, even Virginia, sent their people too, and that's when they finally pushed everybody back. But like I see how the police move when they're dealing with them. They can be real professional as far as like when they were getting them out of the way, they would establish a new barrier, moving back, establish a new barrier. And I know it had to take till probably like 1 o'clock I mean 1 o'clock this morning for them to probably clear everybody out, or even later than that. But they was willing to do that. But it's just like they need to exercise the same patience when it's black people, because most of us is too scared to even try to go that far. We just want to be heard for the most part. We ain't gonna sit here and try to break into the Capitol, but y'all want to sit there and act like we crazy. They basically took the guy took the podium out of the Capitol. You know what I'm saying? That people like was running amok in the Capitol, and they didn't do anything about it. You know what I'm saying? They barely responded to that. They had senators, congressmen, you know, running for their lives, scared and all that stuff. Like, you can't get out a pass, I mean, you can get out a pass, but you can't give us a pass when we just standing outside. Like, stop killing us. That's it. Yeah, they gotta do something better, man, with the police, because they really look weak right now, and it's really giving more credence to defunding them. But they got to do better.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just kind of like so much has happened, over the course of, the past 6 months or so, you know. And then you had the holidays and everything. And so for this to happen, like so shortly after the holidays is kind of a hit too, because at least, during the holidays you had that sense of, happiness regardless of what was going on, like in the world and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, for this to hit, it's hard to really grasp, like what has happened, because, honestly, like I think back to, like Abraham Lincoln, like when Abraham Lincoln got shot in the Ford Theater, that's the same impact that, I think of with this happening. It's almost like this is like historical. Like this is, what I'm saying? Like this is like a history books, passage or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
we living in one.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It's just surreal almost, you know. I guess it just goes to show that, history, can repeat itself, like if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I think like for a while there was like this lull in American history. It almost seemed like, well, ain't nothing really big happening. You know what I'm saying? It's like I would kind of get a sense of nostalgia reading about stuff happening in the, the 50s, 60s and all that stuff. So I'm like, man, ain't nothing really happening right now. But now, man, no, like it's a lot of stuff going on, you know.
seems like the 2020s are gonna be, you know, a different style, like a definitely different than the 2010s and the 2000s and the 90s. It's gonna be like its own different era. Feel like, people are more divided now. People have less, attention span, so they can't listen to other people. So they be at war and arguments over dumb stuff because they didn't listen to the whole conversation, and they heard the hard part without the soft part that takes it down or whatever. And then that's what you get. And then people, all they do is watch, they only get one perspective, and they take that one perspective and never see the other side. So then they just become haters, and they get to the point where they're doing something that they know they would never do anyway. Like a lot of those dudes is probably like fathers or XYZ, and they're doing that dumb shit. And at the end of the day, they might not be able to see their family for the next 15, 20 years if they get arrested or whatnot. But they didn't even have to think about that, because never in their life have they had to think about that or getting arrested or spending time in jail. Because like most people in those circumstances don't think about ever having to go to jail. But like a lot of those people who ran in there, they're going to spend like 10, 15 years in jail. And like they could never comprehend that. So it's just like sometimes, just because you feel like you're at home at a Facebook group, and then you want to be a part of it, and it seems cool to start a revolution that's stand behind nothing because he lost. Because like if he won the election before, what makes people think that like he couldn't win again unless people didn't want him to win? Like of course, he got a lot of votes, but Biden had more votes because more people showed up to the election this time. But at the end of the day, it's just like I think this might seal his fate as the worst president ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I mean, I wouldn't argue that. I would not argue that. I just keep on going back to The Rock, man. I'm just like, that was a great time. It was a great time. I just really enjoyed the presidency of brother Barack Obama. And, it's like with Joe coming in, I think if like for no other reason, it'll be a good time because at least like we have a break from everything that's happened during these last 4 years. So, I mean, we'll see. But I think we all knew what was going to happen from jump anyway. I don't think anybody like expected him to be, a great president. So
Besides the Cowboys.
yeah, he probably like is a great president to some people. He is. Like he's probably the greatest.
Especially to the Proud Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
if your supporters do this, you gotta question yourself.
Right, your supporters.
Donald Trump is like the Michael Jordan of bad presidents.
Okay. That's top tier.
It's just like I haven't. It's almost unreal because I've never seen anybody that bad, and like to be that bad at your job, and 70 something million people approve of you. It's like dang, like nobody should ever be able to show up to work and be told that they're not doing well, because like you're probably doing better than Trump.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then I think social media has played a big part in all this stuff. I think there's a lot of people coming up with the extremist ideas on social media platforms and then projecting it to the world. And I think a lot of people who not understanding the world yet, being young and dumb, are falling behind this, and it's causing this big divide, which is making things worse than they really should be. What y'all think about that?
Mm. Yeah. You know, social media and really, media in general for real, depending on, like what you listen to, because, you know, uh, news channels have their slants, like how they feel politically. Um, and then, some social media outlets, have their slants. So it's like any one person can listen to, like an outlet. And if they just choose to follow that outlet, they're going to be real one sided. I just think it's important to like make sure you have multiple outlets of, news, multiple outlets of like media, social media, and all that stuff, rather than just one. Because you never know, like whoever's creating these outlets, you don't know like what their motive is all the time, and then people are attracted to flashing lights and things going like really quickly, um, and unfortunately, you know, people know that like the people who want to get people in to a certain ideology, they know that people like flashing lights. So all they got to do is flash some lights and people are going to be attracted to it. So I think it's like, you just got to sit back and think like, okay, what is attractive to most Americans? And let me see like if these news outlets are doing that, or let me see if these social media outlets are doing that, you know? Um, and honestly, like that's for either side. Like if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever, you do have to be careful for like who's feeding you the information, um, because you can't always like 100% trust that what they're telling you is like objective, you know. So I think a lot of times, the best way to learn about government and stuff like that is like really like long segments of just like interviews, you know. There have been times where like I watch PBS a lot. So, or when I watch TV, like I'll watch PBS. And so PBS, it's like they'll actually sit there and talk about a topic for like 15 minutes straight. Like one story would be like 15 minutes. So it almost makes it to where it's like that old school boring. I remember like growing up, news used to be, it'd be boring. And it's almost like sometimes we have to get in that space, because if not, we'll always look for the lights and like the headlines and all that stuff. Um, so, I don't really follow, social media too much, and I don't really watch the news. Um, and the way that I got the alerts about, what was going on in the Capitol was just through, like my job, like on the computer. And it just seemed like usually, man, it's like I usually end up picking up information from some reliable source, so I just think that's like the best way to do it, man. Just not relying on one source. I mean, like if you do social media, like that's cool, but like don't rely on it like for your truth. It's like you got to search for the truth yourself. And sometimes that means like, looking at 5 different outlets, and like knowing the history of those outlets, like who's making the decisions in those outlets, you know, what are their political views?
Yeah.
So I guess with the social media, how they're doing it, would you blame some of the for them allowing some of that propaganda to get out of hand? Because I feel like they ultimately have a control. Because what I was thinking about the other day when they were talking about they blocked President Trump's Twitter account, I was like, they could have been blocked his Twitter account, or they could have been blocked his social media accounts when he's like inciting a riot. Like, all that time since he's been saying that the election was rigged and it was fake because he lost. I mean, there's no reason for like them to keep allowing them to speak in the media. The media doesn't have to show up. I think sometimes because like the media wants to be 24 hours all the time, they're just looking for like all these negative news or topics to keep you hooked in. And it's like 1, 2, 3 minute segments because that's what they see, think everybody's, attention span is. But like you were saying with the PBS, like sometimes it's better to like, be able to focus in and understand what's going on instead of rushing from one thing to the other and never getting an understanding. So it's like back then they were better with creating longer lasting segments because they had more time. They didn't have to keep they didn't have to pump out a new story every like hour, every 30 minutes. They had, hours to come up with a story. And when that story came up, it was good and it was well thought out and it came together. Whereas, a lot of the other ones were just right now we're just getting random sneak updates because everybody's trying to keep up with the first news that comes out of Instagram. Like that's what it is. And it's ruining the quality and I don't see the journalistic integrity that they used to have.
Yeah, journalistic integrity. Yeah, I didn't really know that like a lot of news is like whack until I started my college studies like as an undergrad. And well, I don't know, it's kind of where I think like maybe subconsciously I knew, but I didn't really begin to like care a whole lot until like that time. And so, I began to like understand what sources were credible in terms of the news they were given and which ones were likely to not be credible. And then after college, I became a news monitor, and so I would look at these newscasts from all over the country. It'd be like Atlanta, Miami, like all the major cities. And so I would look at their news segments, and then we were a public relations consulting company. And so we would give information to like these big brands on how their merchandise was mentioned in the news. And so that was when I really saw like how, um, just kind of like how whimsical TV stations were with the news content that they had. Like usually, like you'd have like, these pretty faces, on there, giving the news, people looking smart and talking, a whole lot. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of times now, news is just like people just talking, you know? Um, and so, I just learned like how to look for really like meaty news, like that has, substance. And a lot of times it's not the popular ones. It's not going to be the ones on the major networks. Like it's going to be some like hidden channel way off in the cut, that like, people don't really watch because it's not filled with like, beautiful faces and like, people smiling all the time. Um, so, yeah, and even honestly, I think that helps with just people's understanding of the world. I think like if you begin to, like stretch your attention span to find out information about the world, you end up not having like this, hot potato kind of like mentality where it's like, oh, okay, what's hot now? Let me find out about it. What's hot now? You know, um, I remember watching one segment on a family in China who was responsible for, like agriculture. They had like these rice paddies and stuff. And yeah, like this news segment, well, not necessarily news, but like this journalistic segment uh, followed their life and what they had to go through, you know? And I just remember like thinking how much more I knew about, like impoverished areas in Asia. It made me think about the differences between, like family life there, family life here in the States. You know, I think it kind of like paints a better picture of what's really going on in the world when you have like in-depth, like information in your head. So then when I'm presented with something like this, you know, like with Trump, it's like part of me just shrugs. So I'm just like, all right, he's almost out. We knew what was going to happen when he got in there. And, you know, he still got voted in. The way this country is, that's just how it is. So we got 4 years. Like, let's get through it. We almost at the finish line.
Yeah.
You know, so part of me is just like, I'm just kind of like underwhelmed. / overwhelmed.
Gotcha.
I just wonder sometimes, like, how do people get behind like his message or like what he's saying? Because it doesn't even sound like mature, or it doesn't sound like it's going in the right direction. So it's like, you know, if you're really, you know, behind what he's saying, sometimes it's like, what are you really, like, what are you really about as a person? You know what I mean? Because like, it's like, what has he even done for you? I don't think people are looking at the fact like, what has he done for you? It's just like, what is he saying? And it's like he's promising a lot of people stuff that they'll never get, and they're believing it. And he's just, you know, talking over people left and right, and people are falling for that just because, you know, he was a reality TV star. It's like sometimes you got to realize like the guy wasn't what you thought he was going to be. And now I think, you know, what you're seeing with a lot of people is that their pride is hurt, that, you know, he's not president again because they wanted to be right, that he'd be a good president. And even though he's not a good president, they still wanted to be right. It has nothing to do with the fact of his actual policy or how good or bad he was.
Right. Yeah, it's just more like a sides thing. Sound
Yeah,
like. Mm.
just a bunch of sore losers, you know, because people wanted to believe that, you know, Barack Obama was the end of the world and XYZ. And then when he wasn't and he was actually good, I think that offended people more. Like if he was bad, I feel like some of those people would have been more justified. But because he was good, the next person wasn't going to be as good. And for, you know, him to be this bad, it's almost like a smack into the face, a smack to the face to those guys.
Yeah.
You guys definitely care way more about this than me.
Like forget him.
I wasn't even like I was here for Obama's presidency, but it's like I wasn't like
Nah, I got you.
I was like 7 when he
Nah,
became president.
yeah, that's a while
Mhm.
ago.
And with Donald Trump, I really didn't like. It's not that I didn't care, but it's like I really didn't pay him too much mind while he was in office. I knew he was gonna be foolish. Everybody knew he was gonna be foolish. It's like don't have high expectations for this man while he's in office, man. Because you will be let down, and we were let down. Country's really divided. It's really about it, man. He
Yeah.
almost gone.
Now I wonder, like, if when he gets out of the office, is he gonna be on the Capitol with the party boys again, or I mean, whatever they're called, like trying to get it, trying to cause problems with Biden, huh?
That he may go to jail. I think
Yeah,
he's in debt after.
that's what it looked like, don't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Like that'll be like the new rock bottom, like going to jail after being the president of the United States, like
Getting kicked
that'll
out your
be the lowest.
got kicked out your home and your money is gone.
That'd be like the biggest L of all time.
For real.
It's like,
Yeah.
and he's like the last president to lose after 4 years since like the first George Bush. That's a long time ago, though. It's like I think it's like 88 or something.
Oh, every president's had 2 terms?
Since like 88.
Wow.
Since the first
Really?
George Bush. Because
Huh.
Bill Clinton, uh, George Bush the second, and then Obama all had 8-year terms.
Wow.
This dude got 4.
Right.
And
That's true. Yeah.
it's like people didn't realize like it was a joke to begin with. Like his first presidency, he didn't expect to win. I mean, the campaign, it was just like, let me see what I can do. And then, you know, because he was calling it fake even when he won it that time.
For real?
Yeah, he started like, yeah, the voting is fake because he thought he was going to lose. And then afterwards, his whole team got prosecuted, like all gone, locked up. And he pardoned them too, which is crazy. But yeah, that's a lot.
Dang. Why is he the president? Like anybody can become the president.
Anybody.
Like after this, anybody can become the president.
Literally. If you're telling your kid that they could be president, you are not lying anymore. At all.
Like wow. Like wow. Like it's crazy because it's like you don't need to be smart to be president anymore. You don't need morals. You don't need respect to be president anymore.
Did you ever though?
Some kind of integrity.
I don't know. It seemed like it.
I know what you mean.
I mean, yeah, you understand.
I feel like, you know, Trump was trying to be famous to be president. And that's the thing. Like you can't go into, you know, like presidency to be popular or, you know, to get your name out there. That's not what like being the president's for.
Yeah.
'Cause I just, you know that early on in American history, it wasn't coveted to be president. Like people didn't want to be president. You know, it wasn't seen as like this high profile type thing, especially before, you know, the states became united. So, you know, for like somebody who is, you know, is to be in the office is just like really interesting to me because I'm like, that kind of goes against the history of the position in a way. But, you know, you've had famous people getting there before, like Ronald Reagan. He was in Hollywood, you know, before he became president.
Yeah, I heard he was an actor.
Yeah. So, you know, like it happens, but I think that, you know, Reagan wasn't quite the same as, you know, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump's kind of like more of an antics type person, whereas Ronald Reagan, you know, he was respected, you know, like he did have, you know, like morals and all that stuff. Or I guess like what you're considering to be morals and all that stuff with presidents. Um, yeah, so I think that, you know, like Trump has been an anomaly, you know, in that sense. Um, but he's been unprecedented, man. I'll tell you that.
Definitely one of a kind. Not in a good way either.
For real.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost over. What day is the inauguration? By any chance?
But is it the 20th?
20th?
Something like that.
I feel like he gonna find a way somehow to sabotage that day too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I just don't like if they don't put him in jail, like he's not gonna go away. Like he's
For
gonna be
real.
the party boys over and over again, you know, trying to stir up some trouble.
For real.
They
He
just might
realized,
as well start going.
oh no, I was just saying he realized played the USA. He played us like fools. Or played not us, but played them like fools. Like he broke in and did his BS and then left.
Yeah, he did, man.
He's gonna have to get locked up now because they don't want that smoke. You know, especially I think he's got enough followers to start a civil war if he wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, we just seen it.
Right.
That might have just been like the first wave.
True.
We'll see.
Yeah, man.